Hello, welcome back to another race preview video. This time I'm going to look at the Highland Trail 550. It's the classic British bikepacking event, one of the original ones out there. 550 brutal miles around the Scottish Highlands. So let's have a look. Now I'm going to run through the start list. There's some cool people riding. So I'll flick through it briefly now and pull out some highlights. And then we'll dive into the actual route itself. So as you can see on ridewithgps here, 550 miles. I've done the event 3 times. Well, I finished it twice. The first time I scratched with 100 miles to go when my bike gave up. It was a hard lesson in in learning about bikepacking. That was in the early days. But I've got a load of footage, so I'll dig into the course a bit and show you some of the what the riders can expect. But before we get there, let's dig into some highlights and some riders to look out for on the start list. So on the women's side, again, a pretty strong field of women. Alan Goldsmith, who's the organizer of the Highland Trail 550, tries really hard to get an equal 50-50 split between men and women. And he does a really great job, and he really encourages women to participate, which is great to see. So I think the first rider to look at is Zoe Schodelot. I'm not sure if I've pronounced your surname correctly, but Zoe's done loads of really top rides. She's like completed the Tour Divide, had some really top race results. So it'd be good to see what she can do on the Highland Trail race. We've also got Jenny Tuff. Jenny's done the Highland Trail before. She's a veteran of these kind of events, won Atlas and Silk Road, amongst other things. So yeah, she knows the route. Yeah, it'd be good to see her and see what happens. Also got Quinn de Verhul. I mean, again, she's done a lot of these events. She's super tough. This is on Silk Road Mountain Race. This image, again, I'm not sure she's done the Highland Trail before, but super tough, and it'd be really great to see how she goes. We've also got quite a stacked field on the men's side of things. First up, I'm just going to show you Myron Golfman. Now he's coming over from the USA. He's won the Colorado Trail race. I think he's not. I think he scratched from last year's Tour Divide. Had some illness issues, but he's won the Iditarod 1000. A couple of times now. If you don't know, that's 1,000 miles across Alaska in the middle of winter. So he's one tough guy. He really does well on the mountain bike side of things. I've been giving him a bit of advice because he's riding hunt wheels, and I help out with that stuff. So yeah, I'm really excited to see what Myron can do on his first trip around the Highland Trail. Obviously, course knowledge is key, which is an area he might be lacking on, but he's definitely got the mountain bike skills. He's definitely strong. So it'd be good to see if he can mix it up. Also, Thomas Bourret. Again, similar to Myron, strong guy. He actually did a really fantastic ride at the Atlas Mountain Race earlier this year. Fairly good off-road, but again, course knowledge might be something that lacks. But yeah, it'd be good to see how he goes in Scotland. Alex McCormack, he raced last year. He's super strong. He's on paper the fastest guy in this field, but still kind of lacking a little bit of experience. But he's learning quick, and yeah, if he can hold this together, I think it'd be very hard to beat. I think he scratched. Where did he scratch last year? I think about halfway through. I caught him. He basically punctured all his tires, ran out of inner tubes, and had to scratch. So yeah, some hard lessons learned. But I think he's a smart guy. He's learning quickly, and physically, he's one of the strongest out there. So it'd be great to see how he gets on this year. And then we have Sofian Sahili, not the most flattering of photos. I actually rode with Sofian last year. He rode around the event, and we ended up riding together for a bit. And yeah, so we stopped to dry our feet out in the sunshine. So I thought I'd include this rather unflattering photo of Sofian. But yeah, he's out to win it. He knows the route. He rode it last year. So yeah, it'd be really good to see if he can pull it together and see what he can do. So let's dive into the route a little bit. So as I said, 550 miles, actually 555.5 miles. Unless there's any changes, sometimes there's minor changes. Alan does sort of tweak the route, but on the whole, it's pretty much going to be the same. So starting and finishing in Tyndrum in Scotland, in the Scottish Highlands. If we zoom out, you can see it's north of Glasgow, but basically between Glasgow and Fort William. And it compromises Essentially 3 loops, sort of the southern loop, the middle loop and the northern loop. Originally the route didn't have the northern loop in, but Alan, he likes to make it tough. He actually conceived this route way back, I think it's like 2011, 2012, something like that, as training for the Colorado trail race. So yeah, picking all the hard sort of mountain bike descents. But having said that, the first half of the race is pretty easy going. So I was chatting to this with Sofian last year, and he was quite surprised how easy the first few days were. But there's a lot of kind of gravel roads like this, beautiful terrain, fast rolling. You basically cover the first half of the race in probably a third of the overall time, and it lulls you into a very false sense of security if you're not careful. But yeah, you get to enjoy the Scottish Highlands. All this footage is from 2023, and it was baking hot, really dry, really good conditions. I really do not expect the same conditions to apply this year. It's been a very wet winter, and I'd imagine that the ground conditions will be very wet. I just don't see that it's going to dry out in time. So a lot of these tracks here, they're nice and fast rolling. And then the first big test, or the first sort of single track section anyway, is coming into Rannoch, Loch Rannoch. So yeah, the first section's super easy, fast rolling, and then you get into Ben Alder. So it's you can ride up it. It's steep, it might be boggy at the bottom, and then you get your first bit of real techie gnarly single track. Now, one of the things on these trails in Scotland, as you can see in a second, is these drainage gutters, these big drainage gutters with big granite rocks either side. They're just asking for you to smash a tyre into them. It's easy to split tyres on the Highland Trail 550. You really need to run tyre liners just to give you a bit of extra cushioning. Full suspension bikes are a really benefit, and you need mountain bike skills to be able to ride this smoothly. Now, I don't tend to ride these super fast. You could definitely ride them faster. But I just try and look after the bike a bit, and you can see how spectacular the terrain is. I love this route. I'll definitely be back again at some point. I think the Scottish Highlands are one of the most beautiful places in the world. And yeah, this is the kind of single track you can expect. Essentially, hiking trails. This is quite a smooth one, to be honest. Well maintained, but yeah, you've just got to watch those drainage gutters, because if you get one, it's going to crack your rim, split your tyre, and then you're in trouble. And I've passed people there, they've flown off at the start, and then they've just gone down too hard, hit a gutter like that, and in the first sort of 6-7 hours of the race, that's just not what you need. So that section is going over the top here into Loch Rannoch, and then you start climbing up and over to, I think this is actually the highest point, Corrierick Pass. And now all of this is fairly fast rolling once you're over the single track in Ben Alder. And Corrierick Pass, you can see on the profile at the bottom here, highest point of the race. And it's not too bad. It's probably going to be a bit of a hike. It's just loose and rocky. This is a little bit of a video. You can see you climbing all the way up, and once you see the power lines, you'll know you're on sort of the crux of the pass. Can't remember who I was with there last year, but we rode up and over, and then you drop down into Fort Augustus. Now this is the start of the middle loop, a key resupply. You hit that again on the way back, so you want to be topping up on food here before you head off, and then you sort of again just tracing further north. Nothing spectacular, spectacularly hard, fairly fast rolling, fairly easy terrain, and you get into the northern loop, and by this point you probably get there. Normally, I normally sleep somewhere around, where do I normally sleep? Contin, Strathpeffer. If you're going to sleep on the first night, you're most likely going to sleep somewhere around here. I think last year I slept in Contin and just in a barn. Quite a lot of people stopped here because then you're out sort of in the wilds a little bit. Again, just rough dirt roads. You hit that northern route. You've ridden through the first night. You think, oh, this is nice and easy, and then you get to Bealach-Horn, and then the Highland Trails race really starts. So Bealach-Horn, it's a bit of a brute of a hiker bike up there. You're not going to be riding up, and then it's wet and it's boggy. So let me find a little video from last year's event. Now, bear in mind this was really dry. It was a little bit sort of drizzly up there, but you can see steep single track down, and this valley in the background, you're going straight down there, and then you're going back up the other side. It's wet, it's boggy. This was this is brilliant conditions, to be honest. This is the best I've ever seen it. You're going to be wading through bogs down the bottom. There's no real track, and you're going up to that saddle in the top right of the screen there. That's eventually where you're going to line up, end up. So yeah, you just got to pick your way down. The track's not always clear. It's steep, steeper than it looks on this. You see nice little drops and things, and you can see it's boggy, really boggy. By this point, if you haven't got wet feet, then you're going to get wet feet very soon. And I say that is where the Highland Trail really begins. So you can see on the profile here, steep drop down and a steep climb up again. It kind of sucks, if I'm honest. But that's the Highland Trail. And then you're on the road again. This northern road, you can see it looks kind of flat, but it's not. Short, sharp, steep climbs on the North Coast 500 route. So, like tiny little roads. You'll probably end up stopping at Drumbeg stores up here. They're a good little resupply. They know about the race. They keep their eye out, and they open up at all hours to help Highland Trail 550 cyclists. And then you're going across Leadmore Traverse. Now, I don't have any video of this because I always manage to do this in the dark. It's just a bit annoying. It's on and off your bike, a bit rocky, can be wet, can be boggy. If the cloud comes down, it's hard to see the route. You just got to like stare at your GPX track. So yeah, it's not the toughest section, but it is a drag. It's a real drag. And then you're on the road. And that's pretty much the Northern Loop completed then. By that point, you've got 300 miles under your belt. All seems to be going well. You're passing the time nice and easily. But then the hard stuff really starts. So ride over to Ullapool. Nothing spectacular there, fairly straightforward. And then you're into Fisherfield. This is one of the most remote places in the UK. I think it's the middle of it is the point furthest away from a road in the whole of the UK. It's absolutely spectacular. And it's kind of made famous. In the middle, there's a big, it's a causeway between two locks. You can see here, it's 30 degrees, very unusual for the Highlands. Now, I managed to ride through this, but the previous year in 2021, I waded through, it was up to my thighs. Bear in mind, I'm 6'3". That can show you the difference in, in the depth of that. And then you're going through, there's a massive hiker bike, and then you've got this incredible descent down to this causeway. You can see right in the far distance, that's where you're heading eventually, all the way around the back of the lock. But this is a kind of rough single track you're going to be doing. It's really cool. I'm really picking down this really slowly. Again, you don't want to cock it up. There's a long way down to the left. There's water bars, there's rocks. I've equally done this, and there's been water pouring over the edge. It's been basically a river down there in 2021. It was just absolutely horrendous conditions. So yeah, it's amazing. It's a really cool descent, and you can see it going all the way down into the distance there. So you want to you don't want to smash yourself on the descents too, because you really pump your arms up and get tired and make mistakes and hit tires and things like that. So yeah, you've got to manage your bike quite a lot. And then you get into Poolwee. There is a resupply there, time dependent. And then you've got the Tolly Path, which is this section here. I don't have any footage of that because, quite frankly, it sucks. I hate it. It's on and off the bike, slow going, annoying, can be boggy, normally mosquitoes. So yeah, I never film anything there. But it's an annoying section. And then you're on the road. And yeah, you're making good progress then. So you're going up and over, what's the name of this estate? I always forget the name of this. Some really, Torridon, up and over Torridon. There's some really spectacular single tracks, steep and rocky. Again, I rode that in the dark, so I don't have any footage of that. And then you've got this nice little traverse across here. I say nice. It's nice when it's nice, and it's crappy when it's crappy. I've done it in both. It can be really boggy, really horrible. But it's better than going around the road. Once you pass that point, resupply does start to become a little bit easier, but you've still got a couple of big ticket sections left. The last real big hike bike, you can see on the profile here, very steep. You're going to be pushing, and you're going to be pushing up there. I caught Sofian on there last year. So this is the climb up to Glen Affric. As you can see, it's absolutely spectacular. It doesn't always look like that. Chances are you won't see the top of the mountains most of the time because it'll be covered in cloud, but you're going all the way up there. There's no way you can ride it. It is a hiking path. And then you're in this kind of glen quite high up. Can be wet, can be flooded. When I did it, it was quite dry. There's plenty of river crossings. But yeah, I'd say that's probably the last major test. Once you've got over there, you kind of feel like you've broken the back of it. There's a few big fire road climbs between there and Fort Augustus, but then you're rolling back into Fort Augustus, which is kind of your last major resupply. You want to top up here if you can. You would have been there to start with, so you want to try and get in there before the Londis shuts. And yeah, this is kind of like a sight for sore eyes. You're rolling in, you see the petrol station. Yeah, and Highland Trail riders, if you've done the Highland Trail, you know all about the spa and the petrol station in Fort Augustus. So there's normally a pile of bikes outside. I think I got here with Sofian. Oh yeah, there he is. So yeah, the final resupply, and you can push to the finish from here if you want to. There's a lot of flat along the side of the lock here. Let me just see if there must be some kind of imagery of that. There we go. So yeah, you're riding along the lock. Very nice. There's a nice trail along the side there. Then you're going through Fort William. And you pick up the West Highland Way into Kinloch Leven, and then over Devil's Staircase. Now the West Highland Way, it is essentially a hiking trail. So similar to what you saw earlier on. Again, I rode this in the dark, but you can kind of see you're climbing up there. Rode it in sunset, really beautiful. It's generally quite easy going. There is a lot of tourists hiking up there though, which can be quite annoying. There's a lot of gates, and it can be quite rocky at times. Again, the drainage bars, things like that. So you do need to keep an eye out. And by this point, you are tired, so you do just have to sort of keep aware. And then yeah, over the Devil's Staircase, and the final run into the finish. It's not as easy as you might think it is. It does drag through Rannoch Moor here, through Glencoe, and you can really get smashed by the weather right at the end. It really is unpredictable in that particular valley. The wind just seems to blow up it, and it can be sunny one minute and then a storm blows in the next. But you're nearly done by that point. You've just got to keep slogging away, and yeah, that is pretty much the Highland Trail. So yeah, looking forward to dot watch this. Not sure if I'll be able to do daily dot watching or not. I'll be, well, as you watch this, I'm probably at the Accursed Mountain race on my way back. If I get back in time, I'll try and do some daily updates. But if not, I'll do a recap after the event and look at some bikes and things. So yeah, as always, thanks for watching, and yeah, catch you in the next one.